Hello again, I am Jim Bob and welcome to the first episode of a brand new Let's Play here at Lone Oak Farm. We are around about 13 miles east of Salem in northwest Oregon, and this is, as I detailed in my map tour, which if you haven't seen is linked in the video description below, this is based on a genuine real world location. And is incredibly authentic to that location, with a few minor exceptions to enable gameplay physics and gameplay mechanics to come into play. So the dealership is not a genuine dealership. It doesn't actually exist there, nor does the Agri XJS sell point and BGA. They are actually on that is actually a farm and a nursery just there, and there's also a farm on the opposite side of the road, which is kind of, there's two farms very very close to each other, and they kind of overlap the area where the store is currently placed, where the dealership is. So, and same with the sawmill, that's not there at all. There's nothing there in real life, but certain items have been placed in on existing locations, or just kind of fabricated a little bit to actually bring us in the mechanics that we need for gameplay. So there are certain things that are not 100% authentic but have to be sort of tweaked for gameplay purposes, but apart from those little exceptions, this is an incredibly authentic experience driving and working around on this area. So you can see I've just been pottering around on the Farming Simulator mod hub there. So let me just get off the chat, just look out the window, and you can see there's our farmhouse garage just there. You can see it got in our yard, got some solar panels, and there's our sort of barn for our animals just there. So let's head downstairs and I'll give you a tour of the farm. It has actually been up and running already for a couple of months, as you can see. Oops, opening the wrong door there. Let's open the screen door. Just letting a bit of ventilation into the house. As you can see, it's quite warm at the moment. Nice cool breeze drifting through, and this is my mowing shed over here. So the previous farmer that we've purchased this from had a couple of disc-bine mowers, and I'm not really a big fan of those New Holland disc-bines, so I've replaced them with this mower set from Pottinger. So we have this front mower just here, and this folding rear mower just here, and then hiding away in the cupboard, so to speak, I have my little Amazoner ride-along mower, because I do like those. They are so useful and are quite a lot of fun to play around with as well. And then as we head along here, now the reason I've put solar panels in here is twofold. One is kind of a nod to authenticity of the farm, and the second is just as a way to help offset some of our expenses, because they are quite big. In reality, this cow barn does not exist on this farm, because it's not. There is no livestock on this farm. This is completely fictional, but it fits and sits very well and nicely on this map. So there are no cows at this farm in real life, but instead there is a shed that kind of runs along this area here, and it has, solar panels all along the roof. And so to kind of replicate that, I decided that we would actually stick 3 in there. And 3 seems to be about the magic number. They're just about balancing with our daily expenses at the moment. Obviously, as our farm expands, they will not be enough. We gain more animals, then our animal expenses will go up. We gain bigger and more expensive equipment, our expenses will go up in that respect, and they will not even come close to covering those costs. But for now, they are just about keeping us okay. We're losing a couple of $100 a day, but it's a lot more manageable with 3 of those just there. So if we swing around here, this, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to store in here at the moment. Some equipment is a bit limited as to where it can go because of height issues. So I did think about putting, the windrower in here, but it just doesn't. It doesn't fit. It's too tall. So you have to be careful with some of the placement of certain things. But not sure what I'm going to put in there yet. But in here, in this port here, you can see I've got a 6-meter cultivator. This is the Sapphire cultivator that came out several months ago. I really like it, and we've got a lot of 6-meter cultivators, and this is very very similar to the Amazoner cultivator, and even a little bit, in terms of the 6-meter Vogel Nurts that we start with in our starting equipment for this map, but I like this. It's got a nice look to it, it's got a great feel to it. It kind of sits quite nicely with our equipment, given the colour scheme as well of black and red, and I thought, I've not used this before, let's go with this one. So that's our 6-metre cultivator. Next to that we have our Einbach weeder, so that we can weed our grass fields. We've got only 2 grass fields, but they are big fields, and weeding them can make a huge difference to the yield on those fields, so we will be weeding our grass fields. And then we've got some front loader arms here with some Bale Forks. Now these are auto-load Bale Forks from the CSZ pack, so these will hold 3 square bales, and obviously we've got a weight in here for counterbalance to fit at the back of our tractor as well. Just a little bit down here I've got another cultivator. This is from Stara, actually, from the sugarcane expansion, the Platinum expansion DLC, and this is the ASA CR, which is the larger of the 2 Stara cultivators. This will plough and cultivate, and if you have a seed box fitted, will also plant all in one go. Now we're not going to be using this a lot. Primarily this is only going to be used for when we purchase a new field, and it'll be able to sort of strip that plough state away. You know, for most of our cultivating work we'll be using the slightly larger, and I do mean slightly because that's like 5.5 meters, I think. It's only a few, you know, I think it might even be 5.8. That's a 6-meter cultivator, so it's a little bit bigger, but it's a faster cultivator as well. So for just general cultivation purposes we'll be using the Sapphire unit. If I pop over here, you can see our workshop here is nice and empty. Everything is in good running order at the moment, but we will definitely be needing to bring equipment in here from time to time to give it a bit of a tune-up, or just to change wheel setups, things like that. So let's just close the door on the way out. If we head next door, this is where the big bulk of our equipment is, in here. So the previous owner had a Bredel fertilizer spreader. I brought in a Kuhn Axis instead. Slightly smaller capacity, slightly more expensive unit, but I actually just think this looks and sits a little bit nicer on the back of our tractors, so I went with the Kuhn Axis. If we swing around to here, I've also gone for the Cedar Extension unit here as well, so this will allow us to put an extra 1500 litres of seed into our planters. And speaking of, we have the Horsch Pronto 9-meter seeder and the Horsch Maestro 9-meter seeder as well, so all of our grains can be covered by both of these 2 seeders here. And then as you swing around, I've got 2 sets of headers. So as you can see, I still have both of the 1660 axials. Now normally when I start a Let's Play, the first thing I do is get rid of the combine and replace it with something a bit more practical size wise. Now on this one, for the first time ever, we got given 2 combines at the start, and I was tempted to get rid of them both and replace them with a larger combine from Case, but I thought, you know what, for the first season I would actually really like to have 2 small Case 1660s. I don't think I've ever run two of these before, ever. So I thought that would be quite nice. You know, we were given 2, let's use 2, at least for the first harvest, and then once that's out of the way and it gets towards the end of the year, we can then look at maybe getting rid of one or even both of them and replacing with the next model up from Case. But we'll see how that goes. So obviously we have the 2 standard grain headers here. Obviously we had 2 of the corn headers as well, but they had black teeth, and I prefer these with red teeth just because they look a little bit nicer and they match up with our combines a little bit better as well. So I repainted these. They are the original ones, just with the teeth repainted from black to red. And then we have a sprayer just here as well. So picked up this this lovely second-hand Lizard sprayer unit here. Not a huge tank, only 3,250 litres, so quite small in comparison to the other sort of self-propelled sprayers out there. The New Holland one has like a 5,500 litre tank. The Stara one 4,000 something. You know, this one's actually quite small by comparison, but you know, it's a really practical piece of kit. It's self-propelled, and I've gone for the 24-meter boom on this. You know, we could have gone as high as 36 meters, but 24 felt more appropriate for me, I think. So again, we can look at replacing that with a larger boom further down the line if we want to, or we could just go for a completely different unit. But I think this is a great starting unit, and it looks and feels authentic to this type of farm as well, I think. So that is another reason why I decided to use this. And then we have our two tractors as well. So we did start with two 1455s. Now I have kept one of those, and that's somewhere else. But for the main bulk of the farm work at this location, I wanted something with a little bit more grunt, a little bit more oomph. So we have, for the main sort of flexibleness on the farm, we have a Puma, because these are just incredible tractors, these Pumas. You know, a great power range, not that expensive in comparison to other models in nearby sort of categories. You know, it's cheaper, it's got a better power band, it's got more features. It's a fantastic all-around piece of equipment. Currently got skinny wheels fitted because it's been weeding away on our grass field. But yeah, 240 model this one here, so all the way up to 270 horsepower on this one here. It's a very, very good little tractor. And then Big Brother, sitting just next to it here, the 340 Cvx Magnum. Now I've used Magnums quite a lot on contract work, especially on places like Mustang Valley, but I've never really owned Magnums since farming Sim 15. I think I used them so much in 15, and I've used them so much in contract work, that I just never bothered to own one for a proper sort of farming run. And I wanted to break that trend with this farm, you know, going with a case theme. It seemed now would be the right time to break out the Magnum. So double wheels fitted at the moment, as you can see. This has been doing all of our planting for us. And then over here, replacing the original sort of grasswork equipment, there was a New Holland roll belt round baler that's been replaced with this, the Krona Big Pack square baler. I've also replaced the Lely tedder and the Kuhn windrower with Krona equipment. So we have the KWT tedder just here, and the Swadro windrower just here as well. And then I've also picked up this Kuhn silage bale wrapper as well. So this will be really useful for us to generate some income with the first cut of our grass field. Get a whole load of silage bales all wrapped up, and then that'll be a nice big cash injection for us. So that's all of the equipment in this shed, and that's the vast majority of the equipment that we have on this farm. There is a little bit more knocking around. Another extension that we made was to the silo. Now, the previous farmer had a very small capacity, only 100,000 litres. And I have to say, this has been a bugbear of mine with maps from not just Bill and Oxygen David, but with a few other map makers as well. They give us these wonderful looking silos, you know, these huge, great big monstrosities in terms of size, and then we have just the standard 100,000 litre capacity, and it always seems to me to be a very underwhelming, you know, size of capacity for some of the structures that we get. We get these huge, great big things with, you know, hardly any storage space in them at all, and then also usually hardly anywhere that we can actually put in additional silos to boost that capacity without breaking and wrecking the aesthetic of the silos in question. Now on this map, I think we're quite lucky in the sense that, you know, there is space to stick these in if you're careful without completely ruining the look. So we've got this line that kind of runs down the side of this shed here, and I've been able to squeeze two of these extensions in just here and still retain access to this big pipe valve just here. And then as we go around the other side, I've put two more in here running in a straight line, and again, if you look, they're running in line with the concrete slab just there from that storage shed. So in terms of access, we're not causing an obstruction on our way to the downpipe just there. You see we've got this nice clear space. We've not got silos blocking the way. You know, it's a nice smooth drive through. So 4 gives us an expansion of 400,000. So we now have a total of 500,000 litres capacity, which I think is more than we'll need. But, you know, better to play it slightly safe. But yeah, a big chunk of money straight away has gone on expanding our silos. So if we just pop round here, you can see I've still kept the Metaltech auger wagon, or chaser bin I suppose we should be calling it, seeing as we are stateside. And then I've replaced the Twin Star with the 850 hook from Black Sheep Modding, and this is running in semi-support mode. There's no hook lift fitted to this, and I have no intentions at this stage of actually running any hook lift or ITR equipment on this farm. I mean, that may change in the future, but for now this is going to be just a semi truck. But I just wanted something a little bit bigger and a bit mightier than the Twin Star, and the 850 hook is a great looking truck, so decided to go with that. Still have the Fleegle trailer to go with it, and then I've also brought in this, let's turn my lamp on here, the American Bandit low loader. So as you can see, plenty of straps on this. This is a brilliant little universal support trailer for us. We can use this to transport equipment or vehicles. We can use it to transport, you know, bales. We can also use it to transport pallets or grow bags, and even pallets of wool. So this is a real multi-function, multi-purpose trailer that we can use in a number of situations on our farm, which is good. And speaking of bales, we can also transport our bales on this. This is a Fleegle Autoloader trailer. So this is primarily going to be used just for getting them off the field and stacked up. And from there, we'll probably end up using different trailers. But, you know, we do have this Autoload trailer here as well. And that's it for all of the equipment at this farm. Now, I say this farm because we do have some livestock. We do have some sheep as well. I started with 50, and over the course of spring, you know, I have gained an additional 8 sheep, so I'm now up to 58 sheep. They've been ticking over quite nicely. You can see, there we go, pretty healthy, up to 85%. I've not long, you know, had someone clean them as well, clean up after them and top their water up. We'll have to go and give them a bit more to drink, a bit more to eat tomorrow. They're down to about half their food supply, so at some point very soon, possibly tomorrow, we're going to have to go and break out a bale and give them a feed. But for now, we're okay. And then as we swing around, you can see I've also installed a pressure washer just here, and I've also got another one up by the farmhouse on the driveway as well, so that I can wash the truck if I need to before putting it back in. And there again, you can see I've got my my lovely little solar panels. So that's a quick overview of my farm. Now, as you can see, as I say, it is the last day of spring. It'll be summer in the morning, so as it's starting to tick on, it's what, 10 to 9 at night. I'm going to call it a night here. I'm going to get a nice early night, be up nice and early in the morning, and then we'll be doing some mowing and some wrapping of bales on this grass field here. But we've also got some fertilizing to get done as well. So I'm going to, you know, as I say, turn in for the night. We'll get all that done, and then I will see you in the morning. So just close and lock the front door. There we go. And I'm trying to remember where my bedroom is now. That's the kitchen. My bedroom is through here. So nighty night all. Morning. What is it? 5:30 in the morning. Right, we've got a lot of work to get done. Let's get locked out of my own bedroom there. Right. So, I think, if I'm right, I'm going to have the doors kept closed today because we're going to be busy. You can see the grass has grown overnight, and you can see that our crops are starting to grow as well a little bit more. They're into their final stage of growth before they're ready to harvest by the look of it. So let's head over to the workshop and the office. Let's just pull up all the information about our farm on the computer and see exactly where we stand. I do know that we are going to have to get the weeding on our grass fields done before we can get our mowing done. So let's just check out the farm on the computer. Okay, so there you can see there is the growth status of our farm. Yeah, into the final stage on our wheat and our barley and our canola as well. So they are ready for their final application. Actually, I think they've already got their final applications. Yes, they do. So don't have to worry about those, but it does look as though our corn here has grown a stage. Our sunflowers look to have grown another stage as well. And our soybean has definitely grown another stage as well. So all of those fields are going to need a stage of fertilization. And obviously we know the grass has grown as well, so we're going to have to weed fields 44 and fields 24 as well. So I don't actually think we're going to have enough time to do any mowing today. I think it's going to be mainly just fertilizing, and that's all we're going to have time for. We're going to have to call on one of the workforce, I think, to give us a hand. So let's get some stuff in place. Oh, I left the door open last night. I have to make sure I lock up after myself next time. Right. So let's see. We're going to need to do some weeding. So we're going to need to break out the Puma, get that hooked up to our Einbach weeder, and get that up and running on the grass field. So that's probably the first thing that's going to need to be done. And so we're going to need to spray our fields as well. So we're going to need to break out the lizard sprayer. Let's open up the roll door. I'm going to grab the Puma first of all, and we're going to get one of our workers to take over this piece of equipment for us. I think we're going to run the sprayer. You can see the Puma hasn't been cleaned off in a while. Need to make sure that the worker cleans it at the end of the session, or we'll clean it ourselves perhaps. It's definitely in need. So we're hooked up to the weeder. Now there is actually a little patch just up in front, you can see, that's at a different growth stage. I accidentally, when I was planting away with the soybean, I actually tagged the edge of my grass field, and of course the Horsch Pronto will plant anywhere. It's a direct drill seeder, so it just overwrote the grass and put soybean in its place. So I had to just go back and put some grass over the top of that. So we've got that little patch just on the edge there. That is actually freshly planted grass, as you can see, in its initial stage of growth. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do the edge along here of our grass field, and then once that's done I'm going to turn this over to one of our workers, and he'll run up and down this field for us, make sure it's nicely weeded. There we go. It's a really nice grass texture, actually. Normally it's really blindingly obvious when you weed a grass field. You can see an incredibly dark layer underneath, and it becomes blindingly obvious where the grass field stops and starts, and to a lesser degree before it's weeded as well. But the way this texture has been applied, you can actually see it's a lot harder to initially see exactly where the difference between the two. And obviously we've got this kind of thin boundary on the edge of the field, which can't really see actually when you're standing right above it, but there is a thin boundary where the grass is a little bit thinner just through here. So we've got this kind of ground dirt texture, so from above we can kind of see the border. You can just see it runs along there. You can see the difference between the grass field at the bottom, then that little boundary, and then the actual field itself. You can see that little thin sort of brown line that runs between them. But it's a lot better visually, I think, than the generic grass that we normally get. And of course this is sort of that yellow grass as well, so when it gets cut it will go that sort of a pale yellow-green colour, which looks very nice but makes it very hard to see the hay. If you have hay on a wide cut on something like a Big M, it makes it quite tough to actually see exactly where the hay is. So let's turn loose the worker. Let's jump out. Worker's in and off and running. There she goes. One thing I'm going to have to be careful of is I think I might have come out just a touch too far with this crop. I might have to roll this in an extra row or so at the end, because it's quite narrow, this pathway through here. So I may have to take that in a row. Let's make our way back to the workshop so we can go and pick up the sprayer, and we're going to jump onto our various different crop fields. Like I said, most of them are going to need a spray. Just signposts caught my eye there for a second. Right, here we go. I'm not entirely sure how to actually get in and out of this thing. I know we've got these doors, but I don't know if there's actually enough room to open these doors because of the booms. So I'm not entirely sure how you would actually get in and out of this thing in real life if the booms are folded up like that. Seems a bit strange. Now, one of the things I forgot to point out in my map tour, it was the fertilizer points here at the farm. So this building here, this little shed here, this is the solid fertilizer storage shed. So this is for pellets for our seeders and for our fertilizer spreader like the Kuhn Axis. So you can see here we've got the chemical storage authorized personnel only sign, and at the bottom pesticide storage area. That's what this building is for. So if you need to top up your fertilizer levels in your seeders or the Kuhn Axis or the Bredel that came with the farm, this building here outside here is where you do it. Now for sprayers like this, these two tanks here, these two large tanks on the side of the building, this is the liquid storage area. So you can see a little bit further along for the liquid storage, and then solid storage is that shed just there. Get a nice fill level going on. Quite a bit of debt already. We've had to obviously pay for all the work that's gone on as we were preparing to move on to the farm. So we've had to pay for the seed and the fertilizer and the man hours that have gone in to getting the farm up and running for us while we moved over here. And we currently have around $50,000 of debt on hand, plus another $370,000. Couldn't get out of that for a second there. $370,000 of debt with the bank as well. So we're not exactly flush with cash, but we have everything we need for all of this year, and I would say we're pretty good for next year as well. You know, and then depending on how the harvest goes and things like silage and so on and so forth, we could be in a position to actually bring in some new equipment towards the end of this year. There you can see our weeder off and running. So I think this is one of the fields that we need to fertilise. This is our sunflowers. Let's just check. And yes, you can see that we need to do 34. We also need to do 33 and 32 as well. So what I'm actually going to do, because I need to do all of them, is I'm going to be a little bit, hopefully, a little bit crafty here. Let's get the booms unfolded. I'll make sure I'm not getting in the way of my Puma. You just hear the noise of it cutting in there as it drives past us. Let's lower the booms down. There we go. And what I'm going to do, I can try and avoid actually driving directly over the sunflowers. There we go. Hopefully I'm driving between them a bit better now. What I'm going to try and do is literally just go straight on onto the next field, because I'm going to need to do them all to at least put my border down anyway. Let's zoom out a little bit better. This is actually quite a deceptively large field. It doesn't look that large, field 34, from certain angles, certainly when you look at it compared to other fields on the mini-map, but when you're actually working this field, it's actually deceptively large. It's got quite a bit of width, and this is just the width of the field. The length of the field going all the way up that way, as I say, it is deceptively big. So you know, unless you had really, really big equipment, it's still going to take you a fair while to get each of these fields done. But luckily, we shouldn't take too long, with this sprayer to get these 3 fields done. And then once they're done, we'll have to move on and work on our soybean fields over there as well. We know that the canola field is already fully fertilized, so it'll be the 3 soybean fields after we've done our corn fields and our sunflower. So I'm going to press on with this, and I will catch up with you in a little while. So with a border established along our fields here, I'm now going to turn around and run along the bottom of this field just here, like so. So this will complete the boundary, so to speak. You see this thing bounces from side to side quite a bit as it whizzes up and down, but you can just see the size of this sunflower field here. I'm thinking I might need to purchase some sunflower headers to get through this field at a reasonable pace. I think our corn headers are going to struggle on this. It's going to take an eternity just to get this field harvested, I think. And that gives me the chance to try out new headers as well, because I haven't used really very often those small 5.5 meter seeders, headers, I think they are. I mean, I know that there is a modded sunflower header that's sort of a little bit bigger as well. They're probably a little bit too big, but there are some small helianthus headers. I think they're around about 5.5 meters in working width, and they will fit quite nicely onto our tractors, onto our combines, I think. Let's just actually pull up the dealership info for a second. There we are. These small headers here, they will allow us to run at 9 miles an hour, 5.7 meters, so a little bit bigger actually than the small Capello Kazars that we've got here, which are only 3 meters. 4.3 meters are our grain headers, so they're going to be quite a bit bigger actually than our existing headers. Now I don't know whether to buy these or lease these. They're $33,000 each. Now we're a little way off yet, so I'll have a think about that. I mean, we have got some money that we can still tap into with the loan, but I'm not overly confident about spending a large amount of money just yet. I think we'll wait and see how we do with the silage baling, and see just how many bales we can actually get off that one field. And don't forget as well, we have got the grass field over by the sheep as well. Now at this stage I've got plenty of hay bales in terms of food supply for my sheep in their current position, and we will get a second cut on our grass fields as well, so we can do another large round of silage baling if we want to, you know, later in the year. And I'm kind of banking on that perhaps a little bit for raising finances for potentially, you know, bringing in, you know, another tractor, or upgrading our combines, you know, either one of them or both of them. We'll see how that goes. But there are other bits of equipment that I'd like to bring in over the life of this farm. So obviously we're working with 9 meter seeders at the moment. We have got scope with some pretty big fields for us to go bigger, you know, go up to 15 meters or even beyond into some of the big bud equipment. And obviously if we're going to do that, we're going to need to uprate the engine on our Magnum, maybe even bring in a more powerful tractor. So perhaps at some point, something I do want to do is bring in the quad track as well. So there's definitely equipment out there that we can aspire to upgrade to. And then there's the combines as well. There's the 2 upgrades to the combines that we can get in terms of case, and no doubt we will work our way through both of those. We might end up probably with one of each, I think is going to be the way to go. And I don't know whether I'm going to keep the small combine that we have right now. I might keep one of them. We'll see how we go with that. But definitely going to want to bring in a third tractor, I think, for when the farm gets a little bit bigger. Which means, of course, buying more land as well. So there's the expense of those additional fields. So I'm hoping that by having 3 fields of soybean, we're actually going to get a nice big cash injection next summer, when it's going to be kind of the best time of year to buy those, or to sell that crop. You know, so this time next year we could be looking at a nice little windfall from our soybean crop, and I'm hoping we're going to get quite a good yield. As I say, we've got 3 fields, all with completely freshly ploughed, you know, soil, and full 3 stages of fertilization on them as well. So we should be looking at a pretty nice haul in terms of you know, tonnage from our crop. It's just a question of how good a price we can get this time next year when it comes time to sell that. One of the things I have been really enjoying about driving around in this sprayer is this in-cab view is actually surprisingly easy to work, at least with row crops it is anyway. You literally just pick a row and then just try and keep it, you know, sort of in the centre of your boom, so it keeps you in a nice straight line. Quite tricky when you're getting bumped around all over the place as we are at the moment, as you can see. But I do like the digital displays at the top there showing my speed at 9.4, 9.5 miles an hour, and you can see obviously the litre capacity left in the tank, and I can also see just coming up there the point where I'd already sprayed as well. So I kind of flip to turn and then go back to in-cab view again. But yeah, I've been really enjoying riding along in this in first person. I don't tend to do that with spraying. I generally just start the sprayer and hire a worker and let them get on with it and go off and do something else. But on this farm with these crops, this sprayer is actually working really, really well for manual driving. So yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with this like this, and it's just a question now as to whether or not I can reach the edge of this field before I run out of litres in my tank. I've got 150 left. Should just about make it, I think. Have a little bit left over. Still got, you know, all of our corn to do over there, apart from obviously the bottom edge. But in terms of our sunflowers, we should be able to make it down to the last 100 litres or so. So it's going to be close, actually. You can still see there's the tree that kind of denotes the edge of the field. I think we'll make it. That's a 60 litres. Oh, I can just see the darker patch coming up where we've already sprayed. There it is. Excellent. So we made it with 42 litres left. So let's fold the beams up. We'll go and refill this at the yard. Just let those arms fold in. There we go. And off we go. Now, in terms of upgrading the sprayer, I don't know whether or not I want to upgrade to the Big Brute. I might save that for Welker Farms when I do a bit of live streaming. I think I probably will just save it for that. Obviously, Big Brute is being worked on by Black Sheep Modding. It came out of nowhere. There weren't that many people that definitely knew it was coming as a mod. You know, the general mod community, the general sort of gaming community didn't necessarily know that that was definitely on the way. Obviously we know Welker Farms is on the way, and hopefully will be out soon. It's going through its final sort of, you know, testing, we hope, with Giants. It's had a few issues and it's caused it to be, you know, delayed a little bit. I think it was initially planned to be out by now, but I had to go back through testing a few more times, and that's probably due to console issues. The PC version of the map has been ready to go for a while, but I think, and I applaud, you know, the decision, if it's genuinely the case, that it's been looking for a simultaneous launch on PC and console. And I know there are a few map makers out there that try to do that. There are some that don't do that. They'll just release a map on PC and then get it out of the way on PC, and then look at maybe bringing it over to console. I think by and large most map makers these days that are releasing maps for consoles do try and do simultaneous releases, but it's not always possible. I know that the West Coast actually got delayed on console and was released earlier for PC simply because there were some additional issues that were causing Bill and the Giants team an awful lot of headaches trying to figure out exactly what was causing them, and they eventually got them sorted, and it was, I think, 4 weeks after it had been released on PC that it was finally released for consoles. But generally, you know, it's a simultaneous launch from most map makers, which is good to see. I like that. You know, I like the fact that, you know, it's made available to everybody at the same time, rather than those on PC getting it, you know, way in advance of console users. Obviously, there are always going to be a lot of maps that are available earlier or only on PC, but you know, for those that are being sort of cross-platformed, it's nice to have those simultaneous releases, I think. So let's go and get the corn sprayed, and then we'll probably have to top the tanks up again, and we'll make our way over and start spraying our canola. So I'll see you on the corn. So this is the final pass on our cornfields. Got both of these done, and still got a fair amount of fertilizer still in the tank. As you can see, it's still got 1,700 litres. It'll be a little bit less than that once we get to the far end of the field, but I think I might go straight over to one of the soybean fields and just start spraying. It's going to be a while. It's going to take us a long time and multiple trips back, I think, to get all of the fields sprayed. So I may as well just go over there with what I've got, which is going to be around 1,600 litres. There we go, we're at the end now, look. So I'll make my way over. You can see the crop there in the distance behind the tree line in front of us. That's where we're headed next. That field is quite an odd shaped field, actually. As you can see, field 48 just kind of cut behind the forest a little bit. We'll go and start spraying on that field there. That one's going to be an awkward one to do, but it needs to be done. So I'm going to get all my fields sprayed, and once that's done I will check in with you and see how our weeding's going on. Just thought I'd check in to see how the weeding was going, and it seems that my worker has been a little bit proactive and has skipped across onto another field, as you can see. So this rather large, rather odd shaped soybean field over here, field 45, has already been mostly weeded. I'm going to have to obviously tidy up after him once he's done, but you know, he's done a fair old bit for me, so I'm going to let him carry on and then obviously tidy the field up afterwards. And I've almost finished. I've actually got a worker finishing off while I checked in on him. I've almost finished on this field over here, on field 48. I've done all of that section over there. I've just got this small bit here to do, so let's just take over control again. There we go. So as soon as I've done this, I'm going to skip over to field 49 and work that field, and then that's all of my crops done. I'll just need to tidy up on 45, maybe on 44, and then weed field 42. So about halfway through the day, and we've got most of our fertilization done, so it's looking pretty good so far. Last little patch here of the soybean crop that needs to be fertilised, apart from obviously the tidying up I'm going to need to do over there on what field was it, field 45. Going to have to do a little bit of tidying on that, but there we go, that's it. That's all of our spraying done for for this round. Our soybean fields are still going to need one more coat of fertilizer, one more application. What else is it going to need doing? Our cornfields. Now, one of these has actually got a strip that's actually a little bit thick here. It's got 3 stages already. That's because there was a mix-up with my worker who decided that when he was planting the sunflower, he's going to plant sunflower onto this field at the same time, just automatically carried across. And when I realised what he was doing, I stopped him and then planted over the top, ripped it up with a cultivator and planted in some corn instead. So that's why there's that patch there, because it got 2 doses of fertilizer from 2 different seedings that were put through it. But these are both going to need essentially one more stage, as are our 3 soybean crops. Now these are going to be a bit trickier to spray when they hit their next growth cycle, because they're going to be quite hard to see through. And you can see around the edges here, these are the patches that I'm going to have to do again. I'll just use the Puma and the weeder just to run over these, seeing as it's already been done that way already. Let me just turn off ploughing as well. The grass field, that's pretty much perfect coverage, isn't it? There's just maybe a tiny spot there and a tiny spot there. I'm not worried about those, so that's as good as done. And we still need to do this field here as well, which works out because I want to pop over and check out the sheep at some point as well. So I'll get the sprayer home. I'll just tidy up these edges here, and then we'll take the Puma and the weeder over and do field 24, and then we'll check out the sheep. And I think that is going to be it for the rest of the day. So I'll see you over on field 24 and by the sheep in just a moment. Okay, so we are making our way down the main road over to the sheep farm. Got our hazards on, I believe. Yep, there we go. This is such a beautiful road to drive up and down on in first person. Normally I tend to edit out my my road journeys, but this is such a picturesque map, and it just feels very lifelike, such as the attention to detail that we've seen from Bullet Bill and the rest of the Frontier team on this map, that it's a joy just sitting in cab and just driving along the roads like this. And you get these wide open spaces, and every now and again you get those little sort of areas of trees along the side of the road that it's a really, really nice picturesque feeling just driving up and down this road. I really, really enjoy it, so that's why I'm not editing it out on this. And here's our grass field. You can see there's a couple of ways into this. There's obviously one that's way over there by the sheep, and there's another one right here on this corner. And you can see the gate is already open, but I'm actually going to go all the way around because we need to check in on the sheep, and I want to show you the equipment that I have over here as well. So I'll go into the field on the other end. There's a gate just over there through the sheep pen. Swing our way around, and here we are. And here's our little sheep farm. So you can see this has been running quite nicely. Just need to back this out of the way a second. There we go. Engine off. Let's turn the beacons off as well. So here we go. This is my little setup over here. Obviously this is our cut through here, so we'll open this gate, and then that gate just there. We can see the sign the other side of it, and then there's access to our grass field just there. Look. But one of the things I was a little disappointed with is that this water bucket here isn't actually an active trigger. You can't draw water from here. So to counteract that, I've installed this water tower here, this water windmill tower. I think Mapper's Paradise released this a few months ago, and size-wise it's got a very small footprint, as you can see, just a very small base, and it doesn't negatively impact on the surrounding area either. Sometimes you'll see something like this and the actual footprint is way bigger than the actual size of the base. It's not the case with this tower, so it sits beautifully in this little gap here between these sort of rusted frames here and the gateway. It just slots in so nicely into that gap without impacting on the surrounding area, and now I can draw my water from here, albeit having to pay for it because it's a water tower, and I can actually climb it as well if I really wanted to. So you can actually climb the ladder on this. It's a little rough in a couple of places, but you can actually get up here, as you can see, making my way up to the top, and there we go. And you get a really nice little surrounding view of your sheep farm up here. And I'm going to buy this field at some point, but I'm not sure what I'm going to put on there. But yeah, there we go. So let's just hop down the ladder here. Oh, I've noticed that there's something a little bit iffy with the sheep pen here. I've noticed my sheep are just bouncing up and down like this. I'm not sure what's causing it, but it's hilarious. It's funny as hell watching the sheep just float up and then come, zooming straight back down again. And they have a tendency to walk through that wall like that. There we go. Got ghost sheep. Let's see if this one just jumps up into the air. Yep, there we go. Look, and that one as well. I don't know what causes that, but yeah, it's pretty funny. And obviously my wool is spawning away, as you can see. I've almost got 3 completely full pallets, which is good because we're almost out of money. So we're almost out of money. We're $62,000 in debt now. But let's have a tidy up. So in here you can see I've got a set of front loader arms and some pallet forks. This is so that I can use my 1455 here to maneuver my wool pallets around. I've also got a 3 bale stacker here from Arkisin, the 4 stack just here. This is a really finicky piece of equipment to use, but I wanted to use it because it just made sense to have a 3 bale stacker if I've got Bale Forks that can auto stack up to 3. And then I've got a bobcat here. This is what we're going to be using to tidy everything up. So let's just lower the arms back down now that we're inside and the door is closed, and let's tidy up after our sheep. You can see I've also stacked some bales in here. I've got 9 bales of hay, so I've got plenty of food for my sheep for this year. I'll probably need a bit more towards the end of the year. I've got plenty of time to deal with that. Let's just get this grass scooped up. You can see I'm starting to run quite low for grass in the food trough. You can see some gaps starting to appear in that base of the trough there. And you really need, well, you don't need, but it's really quite handy to have something like a bobcat or a skid steer to do all your cleaning work in here, because space is so tight. As you can see, it's really at an absolute premium. So having something that can just spin on the spot is incredibly beneficial, as you can see. There we go. Just try and drive out, and I've got my water trailer there backed up against the water trough. If I want to top it up, I just have to back my tractor up and connect it to the trailer and instantly unload. And then obviously I've got the water fountain here, so I can unload or refill the trailer. And you can just see by that red fuel drum there, I have some bale spikes there. Those are manual spikes from the CSZ pack. They're not auto load, so that means I can actually pick up an individual bale as and when I need to, so that I can feed my animals. So let's just lift the arms back up again so that I can actually open the door and get out the front of it. There we go. And here we go. This is my sheep farm. So just looking at the time, we're pretty much out of time, but this is the last job that needs to be done today, which is weeding our grass field. So just open up these gates so I can drive the tractor through. Going to weed this grass field, and then once that's done, that'll be all the jobs that need to be done here today. So tomorrow, assuming that the weather's going to hold up, and it looks like it's going to, tomorrow we'll make a start with our mowing and do some baling, because we desperately need to raise some additional funds. As you can see, over $60,000 in debt. So definitely need to work on that. And I'll close the gates up behind me because I'll drive out on the opposite corner over there by the main road. So that's it from me this episode. I'll get this done, and as I say, there's nothing else to do today after I've weeded my grass field. So when we come back, it'll be day 2 of summer, and as I say, that's hopefully the day that we'll be doing our mowing, baling and wrapping. So thanks for watching. I'm Jim Bob, and I will see you all again here on Lone Oak very soon.